Welcome, friends and future colleagues, to a new and reinvented Law Guest. You have come to the most interesting legal platform for talk shows and more. We give you candid talks with people who you look up to. So, I'm your host for today, Muskan Naran. I'm a second year law student from DY Patil University. We have with us today a very special guest, Dr. Aman Mishra. He is an assistant professor at Bharati Vidyapeeth Deemed University, where he teaches international law. He is also a researcher in the same field. So, Sir is also a vice president of Law Mantra and a very great PhD owner. He has completed his LLB from BACL in Nagpur University and his LLM from Symbiosis International University. So, thank you so much for being on the show, sir. It is really, exciting to have you. This is the first time that we had somebody who's not an advocate coming on the show.
It's an absolute pleasure, and I love the fact that I'm the first one who is not an advocate. But let me tell you, I'm deep down inside, I'm a hardcore advocate, and but somehow, you see, I got to choose the academia.
Right. So, sir, we always start with the question that why did you decide to choose law?
Yeah, I would like to answer your question very shortly, but before that, let me congratulate you, and I really appreciate your efforts because when we were in the law schools, we really didn't knew what to do and what not to do because there was nobody and there was no godfather for us in the legal profession, and whatever we are because of sheer hard work. And I can see the way your law career is going, and I would recommend people, those who are watching this, to please go and subscribe your channel. I think it's
Thank you
very
so
much
much, sir.
popular. I think that is already there in the YouTube. Now, the question as to why did I choose law? I still, my eyes are still searching the person who said that बेटा law कर ले इसमें बड़ा scope है. Uh,
Right.
and but yes, here I am. Uh, Actually, that time I didn't had any idea uh, as to what should be my career
Right.
because my dad was totally in charge of whatever I do in my life that time because I was a very naughty child, and I didn't have that much you see priorities in my life so far as education part is concerned. So I left that areas to have been decided by my father. So my father ultimately made me do law, and yeah, this is how uh, I got into the legal profession.
Right. But actually, sir, if you see that you did your LLB, then you did your LLM, then you, I think, did a PhD. So, sir, actually, you were kind of, once you got into law, maybe you were affiliated to it. You just like started liking it a lot. So, sir, how was your law school journey, if you say, right from after 12th to right now?
Yes, you see, first you need to understand that I come from a very humble background and a place, a very remote place somewhere in Maharashtra. In the village I grew up. When till 12th standard, I studied my elementary education. Everything it was in Marathi, and there was no connection to English. English was introduced to us, I think, in the eighth standard, like
Okay,
ABCD,
wow.
and from there we have to learn. So the moment I went to the law school, everything was above my head because for the first time I could see an English medium full-fledged law school where everything was taught in English. So my first challenge was to deal with the English language. So I really worked hard on that, and trust me, I really worked hard on that. And you see, uh, then bit by bit, I came to know about the subject also, the law also, and used to develop my liking also. But let me tell you, my days at the initial days at the law school were very much struggling, more than any other average law student, because I have to deal with so many aspects in my life, and it was total transformation of my studies during my law school. So many professors, so many teachers who taught me. They changed the way I should look at the law,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, and I don't know. Yeah, that's all happened.
Right. So you were always a very studious student when it came to studying, or were you a little, here and there?
Let me tell you. seriousness of law and studies in the law and the legal profession came to me only at the time of my LLM, because
Okay.
in my law schools, and that time was pretty different than these are the times presently we are facing, and we had to deal with so many things while studying law.
Mhm.
So the time was different, I guess, and you see, bit by bit, I developed my liking for the law subject, and here I am.
So did you think about what you wanted to be or what you wanted to do after your LLB was over? So LLM was a plan from the starting.
After my LLB got over, I came to Pune with just a single bag. I fought really hard to come to Pune and study and maybe practice the law. I got enrolled myself in the State Bar Council here in Maharashtra and Goa, and I started practicing for initial days. But somehow I was feeling and I was realizing rather that whatever I've studied in my LLB time was not enough. So that was a traditional law degree, and this is how I decided to do my LLM, postgraduate studies in law, and I did it from the Symbiosis Law School, and it is in the Symbiosis that I got too much serious for my studies, which I was not earlier, and I decided to make a career in the teaching profession, because while studying in LLM only I developed a liking for the teaching profession,
Mhm.
and yes, and there I could see that I really want to be a teacher, because a teacher can make a greater impact in the real life of people, and working
Exactly.
in the grassroots level. Yeah.
Mhm. Right, exactly. So, sir, are there any challenges that you feel that you face as a law teacher?
Well, there are so many challenges that I would say, because in the society we are full of people. If I say somebody that I'm a law professor, they said, "Oh, you're just a law professor."
Mhm.
But I feel very pity for these people, because they don't know the power of the law teacher has, or
Mhm.
not just law teacher, but every teacher has.
Right,
Because I really believe that teaching profession is one which can create and which can really help build the strong nation, right?
exactly.
So, because if you don't teach, uh, because if you don't treat teaching as a novel profession, then I don't know where our country will go, right?
Right.
Unfortunately, there is apparently much respect also in the teaching profession, but it should come from heart. That's what my you see my vision is, and I'm really working hard that someday the situation will come wherein people will really respect our profession, and youngsters like you maybe would love to join our profession, because you see today nobody wants to be a teacher. All in law studies they want to practice. Somebody wants to be a corporate lawyer, somebody wants to be an IPR lawyer,
Mhm.
somebody wants to be a fashion law lawyer. So there
Right.
are emerging areas now, right? But nobody wants to be teacher. So I want to you know I want to develop something which can inspire youngsters to
Right.
even be and join our profession, because we need good people even in our profession. It is not
Right.
just that only litigation and law needs, right?
Mhm.
So
Right.
maybe one day I'll try to change things when I'll be there where I want to be.
Right, exactly, sir. I believe that teachers are, as you said, the grassroots, and they work at the grassroots level, and they are the only profession that make other professions. So it's pretty amazing that you have the responsibility of, making great lawyers, engineers, and everything. So, but sir, so let's talk about this field itself. Like as a law teacher, because I'm really curious about it. I've had a lot of people on the show who are either, let's say, into law firm management, or they are a CS, or from different fields. But actually thinking about it, that actually when we talk about in the class, that what do you want to become after you do your LLB, people usually go for litigation, corporate. They actually never say that I want to become a teacher or maybe a researcher. So if you'd like to discuss about that, like what are the merits that one has after becoming a law school teacher?
See, I always say this because somebody has already said this, that law is a special calling, and I firmly believe in that principle. When you accept the law, you should accept it not just because of the money, but you should try to reach out as many people as you can, and you should try to help out as many people you can. So, being a law teacher, there are so many challenges because teaching is always an underpaid job. It is always an underestimated job. But still, you should have that much daring to come into this profession and still be the best. There is a lot many competition also in the teaching profession
Wow.
because there are a lot many practical problems. You see, sometimes whatever you earn from teaching is not enough, so people would not give their 100% time. But this was not the case with me because I've decided the day I decided that I should do this, I have sacrificed everything in the life, including the money part. You see, because I believe that if you do the best, whatever you are best at, everything will follow, and money, including money will also follow you. So
Right.
money is something that you should not bother about. It will come to you automatically. But first, you need to prove yourself. First, you need to be out there in the field, and I think everything will follow,
Right.
right?
So, sir, how did you come into research and legal research?
Well, I always like research. Now, I have joined Bharati Vidyapeeth University. You see, now it's been 13 years almost, and from day one, legal research was one of the areas I've always liked, and I've been into various other responsibilities also. Uh, but the liking for the legal research was really a special call for me because I knew that through research and research only one can go ahead in the legal profession and in the specifically in our field of the law professors, because the more you write, the more credit you'll get. Uh, yeah, so that's why I try my best to take out time to write, read, and conduct legal research and on the various ideas that sprung to me. And you see, but this is legal research is just one part. I believe that performance of a teacher should not be just judged by legal research. It should also be actually be judged by the performance
Right.
and the way he performs in the class, the way he transforms the life of the students in the class, because
Right.
it should be judged by that figure. Because you see, in the teaching, when I see the sparkle in the eyes of my students when they understand some concept or something, I really get happy. And you can really see when you deliver a good content, you really know that yes, you have talked. Because you see, nowadays students know everything almost because courtesy Google, and there are a lot many search engines, so
Right.
they know well before you, so you cannot speak nonsense to them, right?
Right.
So if you want to keep them engaging, then you must have some content which is exclusively known to yourself, and you should be able to deliver it in much entertaining way, I guess,
Right.
and
No.
much innovative, which we try to implement here in Bharati Vidyapeeth. So we have, I think, in my teaching style, we have invented the national directors models meet for the students. We have actually conducted. So wherein we have designed a problem on the company law, and we have invited the students from different law schools, and they have come to our law school, and they were being role played by what, like, somebody was the director of the company, somebody was the financial analyst of the company. So like this was the real experience, right? So methods like this in teaching should be encouraged always. We also follow one more method which is called reverse the judgment method in
Okay.
teaching. So here what we do is whatever decision, recent decision of the Supreme Court has been given, so we give it to our students as a challenge, and we say that whatever logical reasoning has been provided by the Supreme Court, Apex Court, you please try to reverse it and try to make the case other way around,
Wow.
right? So I think these are the techniques that I use basically for my students,
God.
and which are quite helpful, and it leaves a lasting impression.
Right. Actually, sir, this is so exciting when you think about it that, application is the main thing that people lack in law school. People, if you say that teachers come in, they say the whole theory part and then they leave. But this application part, which is not taught in law school, I think you're bridging the gap with that. So, sir, were you as a law student? Did you also do research in your law school, or and then you decided to become a researcher, or you can start at any point of time whenever you want to? Like a person can start at any point of time.
I do believe a person can start up at any point of time. There is no straight jacket formula as to when you can start with the legal research. But you see, uh, lot much reading you must do.
Mhm.
Reading is the ultimate salvation to come out of the mountain of law, right?
Mhm.
So you
Mhm.
must be able to read, and read. The more you'll read, automatically you'll get more ideas when you'll apply it to the practical situation.
Mhm.
And legal research acumen one can develop right in the at the beginning of the law school.
Mhm.
Even if the student who hails from third year or fourth year, even he can start writing. So uh, special liking for writing
Mhm.
and reading must be there. It
Mhm.
should then only it will be complementary to the legal research. Otherwise, legal research just for the namesake won't do, right?
Mhm.
Because many of the students and many of in many places just for the namesake they create some centers, but not real work goes on.
Mhm. Right.
Unfortunately,
So, as a law student, if one wants to start researching on things and then actually putting them down in words, then what should we start with? Should we start small, or should we like aim for a research paper and then start writing?
one can I think start from uh, simply writing for a blog
Mm-hmm.
to begin with. Then one can think of writing of the research paper. And
Mm-hmm.
you see, whenever you want to, in law specifically, if you want to write something, you must be very much sure that you have read each and everything available in the literature first. Then only you can give something new to the readers to, you see, to know something. And also, you must know legal research writing is quite difficult as well, because you sometimes while writing something you don't know who your audience is, because and that's when the things get very much difficult in writing. And that's why even if you have written a very good piece of writing on some important legal issue, then your work may be just you see forgotten or overlooked, right? So you should be
Mm-hmm.
able to think, and you should be able to make out as to from where the law can come from, right?
Okay.
For example, you have to scrutinize the legislation, you have to look for the judgments, you have to look whether there are any international conventions on the issue, and also you have to look what status the matter is in now, right? So these are the aspects I think you should be able to, and then you
Right.
can structurize it in a well refined manner, and then you can come up with a publication.
Right. So, law teachers tell us that you have to read up, and you have to read up a lot. So we get the point that we have to read up, but what should we read on? Like, if you come back home from college, what should you start reading on every single day?
You see, the best way in law, it's very simple. It's very simple actually. This the question very simple. If you if you are about to read something, read the judgment directly, because the judgment reading will give you an in-depth idea of the issue. Because
Mm-hmm.
fortunately, when judges in India write the judgment, they write about their history, present, and even the future. So this way, the law student can really gain a full understanding of what is going on. And after you finish with the judgments, then you can maybe go for finding some articles in the research journals, law journals,
Mm-hmm.
and some additional material that may be there,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think this way, and also you see there are various ways of or kinds of reading.
Mm-hmm.
There is just there's this concept called surface reading. When you read, you see you just go through a
Right.
cursor, you give a cursory look to the,
Mhm.
you don't read it. So in-depth reading is required
Right.
of the judgment as well as the important legal material, right?
Okay.
In-depth reading will give you in-depth understanding, and
Mhm.
you can make later on an in-depth analysis of the same. So it is
Mhm.
every activity in legal research is interconnected.
Right. Okay. So once a person starts writing a research paper, yeah, we obviously need somebody who keeps guiding us in between that, you should do it like this, or this is the way that you do it. So what is the ideal place that a law student should go to check somebody who can check if you're writing it well or not and everything like
I think the best way to do is you actually said it right, because in my time there was nobody to guide.
that?
But you see, there are some really good professors in almost every college.
Mhm,
You can reach out to them,
mhm,
right? Like me, for example.
mhm. Right.
So you can obviously reach out to them, and they
Mhm.
will. I'm sure that they will help you out. They will
Right.
tell you how to go about it, how to make the body of the article or research
Mhm.
paper, whatever you want to write, and how to go for publication also. Because
Right.
if you write something and you don't go for quality publication, then the things uh,
Mhm.
you see the work might go to this.
Right. So, sir, I'm very new to this. So, actually, one of my friends wanted to get his paper published somewhere. And when I was researching upon, where he can get it published, I saw that there are many places which are taking money, many online portals who are taking money, and then they are getting your article and your research paper published. So, sir, what do you think is the right way to get your research paper published? Should we go for online portals like this, or should we like go for journals which are actually free and don't ask for any money?
I would strongly suggest don't go for paid publications. Don't go for publications on the web portals, because
Mhm.
uh, in our profession, these are the predatory journals. This is the concept of predatory journals.
Right.
They
Okay.
will lure you to write, and you'll write, and they'll say that whatever you write will publish. So don't do that, because now that there is much awareness about this, UGC has come up with the list of UGC careless journals. So
Okay.
try to see that your writing gets published in the UGC care journal list,
Mm-hmm.
journal mentioned in that particular list, and then
Right.
maybe you can go ahead. And when it comes to publishing, the standards and the parameters of every journal are different. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to do a bit research before you start writing, because the manner of citation, the manner of submission is totally different and differs from journal to journal. There is no uniform format for this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right. So, sir, let's talk about the topic of any research paper that we come up with. So, that topic that whatever we want to choose, as supposedly a law student, we might be in second year, third year. In first year, you can't even imagine writing a research paper. But from second year onwards, if you think about it, how should we decide the topic of the research paper that we want to write, and from the scratch, and then I have, people say that it should be a very niche topic, something which nobody has written on, but since there are a lot of research papers out there, I think everybody has written on every topic almost.
This is a brilliant question, and this is a misconception that if people have written it on it already, you should not write. This is not written anywhere. This is no rule. In fact, the more simple topic you choose, the more beautiful article you can come up with, because it is not on the topic. And but also remember, the topic should come from within, and you will think of a topic to write when you'll read something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, the circle goes back to the reading, right? From reading only you'll get ideas.
Right.
Yes, in this area I think the gap exists, so I should write on that particular basis.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not, there is no straight jacket formula that and it is not a ground that everybody has written on this, so I should not write on this. No,
Right.
you can certainly write. Maybe you can come up with some different ideas. What the novel purpose to write research paper is to come up with something new, somewhat, and think what new you can give to the readers community and to the society, right?
Right.
That's where you can make the difference from
Mm-hmm.
other schools,
Right.
right?
I think it actually works both ways, as to feeding your curiosity about that subject that you've picked up, and also serving the society in the sense that you are putting that you're learning that information and you're putting it out for them to
Yes,
read and
yes,
everything. So,
yes. For example, you see,
mm,
when I was about to choose the topic for my dissertation in my
mm,
LLM time, I chose on the affirmative action, and
mm,
everybody mocked me, and everybody said that it's a general topic, everybody knows about it and what you can do. And I'll tell you, when my writing was over, when my thesis was um, was there out uh, when I submitted to the authorities, it was the best decision. I can assure you that. So it does not matter even if you choose a simple topic.
Mm-hmm.
It What matters is how you can justify it while writing
Mm-hmm.
and while making your submission. How
Right.
novel your submissions, how new and innovative your thoughts are. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where you can make indeed a difference.
Right. So, what was your process of writing a thesis for your PhD or writing a research paper? What is your process that you go
Writing, I believe, is very much dynamic. I really like and I love to write. However, I don't get time as I should
through?
because there's so many things on my head.
Right.
Uh, but yes, writing is something that I really love. I cherish. The moment I entered the law, I like writing. So you see, they should not be boring writing.
Right.
And when you try to write something in an innovative way.
Mm-hmm.
Try to write in some way that the readers should be engaged from the your abstract itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you should start in such a blasting manner that every reader should pay 100% attention, and
Mm-hmm.
it should be gripping at the same time. Once a reader starts, then he should end up reading your thing.
Right.
So uh, and I've seen many articles and I've seen many books also. They
Mm-hmm.
give the idea before only that chapter one deals with this, chapter two will provide you this, and
Right.
I think that's very stupid idea to give the first hand before only or to make them understand because
Right.
that results in repetition of the thing, you
Right.
see,
Right.
and the original charm of the article has been lost.
Right.
So I think this scheme writing part, I think one should avoid in that.
Mm-hmm.
And yes,
Mm-hmm.
and also you see, you have to beautifully, if you want to disagree with some content uh, of the earlier literature, then you have to do it very diplomatically and beautifully. For example, you can say that yes, whatever has been written in the article, I liked it very much. However, with words like however, but
Right.
you can use it, and then you can disagree. You see,
Wow. They
so
catch a lot
there
of
are
attention, I think.
so
This
there are
sentence itself.
yes, yes. And also you can, whatever you have to say, don't say it directly. You can hint them because you see readers are very much intelligent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do not have to explain them bit by bit, step by step. So you give them some time to think also, right?
Right.
Opportunity to think also, right? So
Right.
your writing should be such as to automatically they will think, Arey, haan. And you can do that by simply asking questions in the
Right.
research, right?
Wow. So, sir, you talked about how the disclaimer is given by the author in starting. So, I believe that it's kind of a little condescending to tell the other person what they are going to get out of it. Because, sir, whatever you tell, whatever you are writing, they might interpret it in a different sense. And the way that the reader interprets it, it's going to be very different from the way that you've written. Can be. So, I think it's it's not correct to put the disclaimer out there beforehand.
Yes, and it makes so boring. You see, already, you see, beforehand only, in the starting only, you are telling that you are going to deal with this, you are going to do this,
Right.
and in chapter five, you will end with the conclusion. Say, come on, everybody knows this. Tell us what your real findings are. We are interested in more as readers, right?
Right.
So we are
Mhm.
not interested in whatever format or what you have done to arrive at this particular result, right?
Mhm. Right.
So
So,
mentioning the scheme, I think it's the boring part. One should avoid. It
mhm.
makes the writing very much boring. So try
Right.
to make it more interesting by asking more questions, analytical questions, good questions, and innovative thinking. Whenever you write, you try to think that uh, what new you are giving, because
Mhm.
everybody knows already the matters in detail, right? So try to give something new to the readers so that
Mhm.
they can read it to you your articles again. Otherwise, nobody will gonna read your text.
Right.
That's a
Right.
challenge that we have to face as
Mhm.
teachers and writers.
Right. So, sir, as you talked about this issue that there are not many people who actually, whenever you get a get a research paper published, it usually happens that it might not get a lot of eyes for that. So, sir, is there any way that we can, make it big in such that, because it's a long text and not many people are going to be interested in that topic that you chose. So, how do we get people to enjoy the research paper or article that we have written?
That's again a brilliant question, I must say.
Thank you.
You should also always try to reach out to the journals which had the great reputation.
Mhm.
Mostly try to see that if your article can get published in an international journal of
Wow.
listing of UGC approved, and do not make submissions anywhere except the UGC careless, because it does not matter whatever you have written, it does not count, it will not help you in any manner.
Mhm.
The moment you will publish in the good journal, automatically the credit you will get and all eyes will be on your article.
Mhm.
That's something automatically will follow.
Mhm.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So, sir, why did you choose the topic, the interest field in LLM? Why did you choose? I think you chose international law. So, why did you choose that, and why do you decide? Why did you decide to teach it as this, like only this subject?
International law. Well, again, that's a long story. um, I personally found international law very much interesting during my initial days of studies, and I was fascinated by the working and the work functions of the United Nations and how states actually behave with each other, and also the working and functioning of the ICJ. And
Okay.
you see, there are very much emerging areas in international law, like, for example, now there is a huge demand for international investment law, right? This is something new. So I like this field because it is an ocean, because every subject comes under into the subject of international law. Because you see, when you say international law, you also talk about private and public international law. So you are not only talking about the state, but also you're talking about the individuals in the international law, right?
Right.
So it's a huge area, and what not? International law of the sea is there, maritime law is there, uh, you see, international arbitration is there, international human rights is there, international humanitarian law. I can go on, you see, counting IPR is there, you see,
Right.
whatnot. So it's an area wherein uh, now you see I'm teaching international law since past 13 years, but still I consider myself as a student of international law,
Right.
uh, and I always try to see to it that how best I can learn myself and how best I can deliver the content of
Mhm.
international law, context of international law to my students in the
Mhm.
best way possible.
Right. So, sir, this is going to be a very question that actually, it's going to be a little stupid. But what was your process of doing the PhD? Like, why did you decide to do it? And what was so in the society, in the field that you are in, is that a thing that you are supposed to do? Like, it's like a norm that you are supposed to do a PhD, or is just that something, so what was your thinking about doing a PhD?
Now, you see, absolutely, I had no idea when I was in my initial days of teaching that I should do a PhD. But you see, uh, I got an opportunity to work for Mr. Ujjwal Nikam, who is a special public prosecutor. So, and at that time, the Mumbai terror attack was the recent press issue,
Right.
and he was supposed to uh, give a presentation in the UN, because I think there was a state prosecutors conference in the United Nations. So my interaction with him, and I was actually in a way trying to help him out to give the presentation in the UN, because through research, because he has consulted our law school previously. Uh, so from there, I have developed my liking for international terrorism law, and
Okay.
I got a different perspective from the point of view of prosecutors. So I decided to continue further my studies in this particular area. So I have chose the topic of international terrorism with international law, and specifically with the comparative study of US, UK, and Indian law. Uh, Also, I was a bit delayed in registering myself, which was a mistake from my side, because I could have done now. You see, by the time we are in 2020, I could have done a PhD twice, which I could not do it before, right? So I wasted a lot of my time in my initial days. because
Right.
I was a confused guy at that time. Uh, but finally, yes, I decided to pursue my PhD in this particular topic,
Mhm.
and I did completed it.
Right.
I'm very much happy for that. And
Right.
also, you see, PhD nowadays the situation is being changed. You must have a PhD if you want to come to the legal teaching profession, right?
Mhm.
Because it's a norm that UGC and as well as BCI is trying to shape it, right?
Okay.
So nowadays it's must.
Right. So, sir, is there any benefit of doing a PhD whenever you are, it's for your own good or for your career and anything? What is the benefit of doing a PhD?
It is, I would say it is both. You personally, you feel enriched. Professionally, you are well qualified and well respected than before.
Right.
Right? These are the practical aspect, yes. And there are various perks of having a PhD. You know more about legal research. You know more about the laws you have studied into, and you can obviously give the society, contribute to society,
Right.
something new which was not there earlier by your research, right?
Mhm.
So obviously, yes, there are various benefits, but yes, one must be prepared to work really hard for
Right.
it, because if you want to earn PhD, you have to work like day and night, like animals.
Right. Wow. Okay. So, sir, since we have almost reached the end of the show, I'd like to ask you a thing that, so what is the ideal student according to you? Like what should an ideal student do?
Okay, ideal students, uh, apart from the normal studies, studies that are part and parcel of the curriculum, one should try to see to it that how he or she can benefit himself from the activities of the law school. This is very important because I can see that many of the people, they don't even bother, because law school is a place now. You guys have a lot many benefits than us, because we in our time we didn't used to have so many activities, so many things in our law school. We used to have typical classes, and that's it. That's the end of the story. But nowadays, you see, you have moved towards mock debate, literature society, and you see debaters society, whatnot. So
Mhm.
students
Right.
should be students, an active student should uh, always try to be a part of activities like this, because this will enrich, this will give them the real experience. And
Right.
I think we believe in gladiator model of teaching, because you see, I believe that I should prepare the student like a gladiator. Once he is in the field, once he goes into the courtroom, he should fiercely fight the battle and win the cases through the
Mhm.
practical experience. So this gladiator model of teaching really help us, prepare our students, and our students, uh, but at the end of the day, they automatically get the leadership skills. They automatically get the overall transformation of the personality.
Mhm.
So there are various techniques that we use. So
Right.
I think one should always be prone to these activities,
Mhm.
and one must also realize that things will not come to you automatically,
Mhm.
because many people, they believe that yes, हो जाएगा, मैं कर लूंगा बाद में, but and time flies like this, right? So
Mhm.
things will not come to you easily. You have to go to it and have it at the end of the day, right?
Right.
This is, I think, the mantra that I would like to give to all the students out there.
So thank you so much for coming on the show, sir. It was really exciting having you, and actually, I got to learn so much today. Dumped all my queries on you. So thank you so much, sir, for coming here.
That's okay, the pleasure is all mine. Once again, I tell all the uh, viewers to please subscribe Muskan Narang's channel. She is a young, bright, and dynamic student who has already taken the initiative, and I'm sure that one day this show will be even more popular. And all with all my blessings, I am always there for you whenever you require me. Otherwise, as well, right? And I look forward to the show's popularity.
Thank you
Right?
so much,
All
sir.
the best.
Thank you so much, sir.
All the
It
best.
really
It was
means a
it was a
lot.
real pleasure.
Thank you. So everybody,
It's a
thank you
real
so much
pleasure.
for
It's a real
coming
pleasure.
in, and so we'll see you the next time. Thank you.